If your zoning allows for that, man, I'd be filling the entire property. I'd have a storage facility.
And that's,
just littered. Yeah, no
that's
grass.
one of the reasons why I like this so much is because a lot of people, they want to go down the development road, but they don't want to hold a property negative cash flow for the whole time. So this is something where you can add, 1 or 2 CCANs, additional CCANs in that time period as you're going through the permitting process, as you're going through everything else, and then just move them. And you don't have to get rid of them. You can just move them somewhere else while everything is being built.
These hybrid, direct to CMHC, like you said, it was a great summary, by the way, like cash flowing positive, still a bunch of upside. Like it's hard to screw that up.
But your justification for calling it a direct to CMHC is basically that it works as is, would cash flow as is, and you can get 85% loan.
That's
value.
a great point, because like we get this, people go,
Just about to think about
the deal's cash flow, and you go, well, any deal cash flows if you put enough down.
Yeah, if you put enough down.
You know what I mean?
But you're
Like, we
saying
get that all the time. What does that really mean?
Like, so welcome back to REI Hot Seat. Andrew Hines here with Brad McCrae and David Hulshof, and we're talking about a deal very close to the place that Dave loves, Bruce Power.
That's my home now. I gotta move.
Yeah,
there.
he's the expert of the
Finding
area.
to be the mayor. Yeah.
We're gonna be a bit vague because we're talking about a property that's not specifically one of these guys' listings. It's just an interesting property, and they wanted to go over it. So I'm interested. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah.
So guys, first off, thanks.
Thank you.
Let's hear it. Who wants to take the lead here for why high level should we want to know about this deal?
Yeah, of course. So this is an interesting opportunity for two main reasons that I like this. One, you're able to go straight to CMHC. So you're able to get in with less than your standard 25% down payment, somewhere between kind of 15 and 17% down, depending on how you do your underwriting. And so your cash flow flow positive right from the get-go, but then there's a ton of future rent increase potential as well as development potential if you want to go down that path. So not only can you have turnover, just natural turnover, and get your bottom line up, you can add more storage units. This has already 12 storage units on the property, or the vacant land on the property. You could build another potentially up to 16 unit building. So you can cash flow while you're waiting to get all your permits, everything.
So 20 townhouses, right?
20 townhouses.
And then storage only 12. The zoning allows that, or is this just like...
It does.
It's that there actual C-cans are out there. There's got the
C-cans that open up on the side.
You got it. Yeah. And there's so the section that those are on, there's a bunch more space for it, and it will allow for it.
Is it like a split zoning lot where there's like half one zoning, half another, or is it the whole thing allows for?
It's the whole thing, and it's funny because, again, not to sell you guys on the Bruce Power area, but we. There's just so much flexibility out there. Like we did a 33 unit in Hanover, and the buyer, my client, he went to the city and he had some questions about some zoning. And as he's there checking in, talking to the the guy says, well, come on in my office. And it turns out that that's the head of whatever economic development for Hanover. And he's like, oh, I know the building. What are you going to do there? And he had an hour-long meeting with the guy. And the guy's like, yes, we support that. We support this. So it's like the things you can do out there, especially in that pocket.
So you're saying
so
more
much going
flexible.
On, way more flexible. So
is it like one of those things where you can just have a conversation with the mayor and you can get things done?
Yeah. On that exact, so again, the 33 unit, there was a fire, right? And that got disclosed. And so during the phase 1 environmental, the environmental company said, we got to know, because if they're using spray foam, that could be an issue. We may have to drill.
Yeah.
So we were able to actually get the chief of fire to say, oh, that fire, because I know the property was in the 70s, and we didn't use foam back then. We used water, and he sent it in an email. And we were laughing. He's like, imagine you tried that stunt in Toronto. Like, you're never getting that email. Right?
No.
So
I've always noticed that even like on the building side, like they're so much looser with the permits. Like I remember doing stuff in London. Every page is stamped. They have their notes all over it. Then we go into Plimpton, Wyoming, and we put in a permit app. Half the pages they have not even made an indication that they've looked at it. Yeah. So I could literally have just swapped the page out. Oh, I don't go to the engineer. I'm going to make a quick change here. Hey, see, here are the prints.
And it's funny though, because there are other smaller communities that they're not like that, right? So it's hard to sort of blanket brush them, but the pocketing communities kind of around that Bruce Power
a little
area,
easier going, huh?
A lot of them have been, and I speaking firsthand, have been really great to work with. You get the right people on the phone, you're getting answers. This comes with like this, even for these storage units. It's absolutely, we support it.
Well, it's generally like some of them, if they're all like a lot of rural and farmers, it's just like a higher level of trust. Like it's more relationship oriented. Whereas in the cities, it's like we have to have every I dotted, every T crossed because there's a bunch of sleaze bags out there. Yeah, for sure. So that's nothing new. No. But I mean, just breaking that down, like it's not expensive to get the flat pack containers or to get like a C can that has doors on the side. I mean, I'm sure you could do it under what, 8 for a 40 footer.
I think those
tens
are. I think they're like 8 to 10. Yeah.
So imagine you can get one of those, and how many would be in an 8?
Because they have what, 2 of them, and there are 12. So I think they're 6 per. It was a long time ago.
6 per. Okay, so say it's 6 per. You're renting each one of those out for what, 100, 150?
So currently it's $50 per storage.
Okay.
But that was, there's probably some wiggle room there.
Yeah.
But like
I was just thinking, like, how big would they be if there was 6? Like, what's the square footage of one of those? It's like 40 by 8.5, is it? So it's like it's like 360 square feet.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so not as big as I was thinking. Yeah. Okay, so even if
like 60 square feet per
50 times 8. That's $400 for something you put in your backyard. Yep. What's the payback on that? You're going to get just shy of $5,000 a year. It's going to pay for itself in a year and a half.
2 years. Yeah.
It's like the one hot seat we did. This exact thing, right?
Right. Like just little things. Like if your zoning allows for that, man, I'd be filling the entire property. I would have I'd have a storage facility.
and that's,
just littered. Yeah, no
that's
grass.
One of the reasons why I like this so much is because a lot of people, they want to go down the development road, but they don't want to hold a property negative cash flow for the whole time. So this is something where you can add, 1 or 2 C cans, additional C cans in that time period as you're going through the permitting process, as you're going through everything else, and then just move them. And you don't have to get rid of them. You can just move them somewhere else while everything is being built.
These hybrid, direct to CMHC, like you said, it was a great summary, by the way, like cash flowing positive, still a bunch of upside. Like it's hard to screw that up.
But your justification for calling it a direct to CMHC is basically that it works as is, would cash flow as is, and you can get 85% loan to value.
That's a great point, because like we get this, people go,
just about to think about
the deal's cash flow, and you go, well, any deal cash flows if you put enough down.
Yeah, if you put enough down.
You know what I mean?
Like
we get that all the time. What does that really mean?
Like so
that's
current bond rates resulting in the CMHC mortgage rates. Considering all that, going 85%, it should work. Is that the idea?
So my range, I don't know about yours, is 80 to 85% under the old program. Because again, if it makes sense under the old program, the new one will definitely make sense. So that to me is my range. Maybe some people are 70, 75. This is like what, 80?
83. 83. With where the rents are, where the storage is. And there's the potential with this one because of the size of the units and where it is to also go through the MOI Select based on affordability. So there's a chance to do even more, just dependent on if you're someone who wants more cash flow because you have the higher rents, or you want less down payment because you want to go through that affordability route, potentially get up to that kind of like 90-95% at the 1-1 debt cover.
So you think the current rents, just because they are so low, they'll qualify?
Yeah, so in these areas, they're in the process of updating kind of the rural areas of what it is, but it's around $1,000 and like $1,037, I believe, is the cutoff for it. And so some of these some of these will fit, as you can tell, and some of the we have 2 vacant units that we're assuming will be market rents. But if you want to bring those to fit the buffer of what the affordable rents could be, that could also line up.
How many units would you need to do affordable on a 20-unit building?
For 50 points affordable, I believe it's 40% is 50 points, 70 points is 60%.
So 60%.
So you would need 12 total units to be at or below to hit the 70 points, which is the 95% 1.1 45-year amortization.
So so there's 2, I've just pulled it up, 2 versions. So there's new construction. No, I know, because there's a new construction, and then there's existing. Okay. So these would be existing, assuming we're not talking about the new build you might do on this. So 40% will give you 50 points.
Yep.
60% will give you 70 points, and 80% will give you 100.
50% is 70 points.
80% is for 100. Okay.
Okay.
60%. 70
So what
points.
can you do with 70 points? You said
Good question.
70 points is enough.
We should share this in the thing after. This is a 2-page.
Yeah, if you got the link for it, share it with me. And we'll put it in the show
notes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I know the only difference between 70 points and 100 is getting to the amortization of 50 years.
Yeah,
so
okay.
a lot of people are happy with 70 points because you get 45-year amortization, 1.1 debt cover, and your 45-year amortization, 1.1 debt cover, 95% loan to value.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's something not satisfying about a 50-year am in my head. So I would be
to do the additional 20, additional 4 units in this case, it's not worth 5 years of amortization.
So obviously we don't have both scenarios run here, but you'd want to play with your model and decide, are you happy with that? I mean, I'd rather the opportunity to make more cash flow, take a lesser amortization, and just pay it off faster. But that's not always possible,
it's
right?
very dependent on
your situation, right?
Yes,
if your situation is, I don't got the 15%, I want to put down 5.
Yeah.
Well, then that kind of makes up your mind for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're right. 50 points is 85% 40-year.
Yeah.
70 points is 95% on a 45-year, and then 100 is.
So the scenario as is with 83%, like what's our cash flow look on this? And this is based on current everything, like the current rent roll.
Correct.
That's correct.
That's
so
turnkey cash flow.
Exactly. So on acquisition with an 83, so 17% down, you would be cash flowing after everything about $30,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And that's with your CMHC underwriting, whether or not you're paying this or not. So this could be buffered a little bit.
And what's the total capital? 700,000 needed to close it?
That's correct. Yeah.
So if you can put the 700,000 down, you're going to get $2,500 a month. This is where it gets interesting because now you start talking about, well, if we just add, a bunch of sea cans, shipping containers that have storage in them, how many would you need to do to add $10,000 of cash flow? And you could literally just work the math out.
Yeah.
Assuming the area would absorb it, which it feels like for storage, it pretty much works almost anywhere.
The fact that you're under units per, storage units per townhomes, right there, I feel like there's a buffer.
Very good.
Right.
You're not. It's
so
not like
immediately I would match 20 for 20.
Yeah.
But I mean, even to offer storage to people who aren't on site,
exactly.
That's where my head's at.
Yeah.
I have a friend who he's been on my podcast a couple times, and he'll buy up. He'll buy up properties that have a zoning that'll work for storage, and he'll just buy up the flat packs, and they'll get insane cash flow. They'll get like $15,000 a month cash flow.
It's so overlooked. It just it works. It just really does.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that's nice about deals like this is you have many exits. You have a lot of ways you can make money. You have that. You have the construction. You have the natural turnover.
Is there any other play here to add value? Like I know we've kind of been on a theme lately, so I want to stick with it. But like things that you can do. So we've got the storage you can add, which we've talked about in a recent episode. You can do efficiencies, which I mean that doesn't really save you that much unless you're changing something from being on you, the landlord, to the tenant.
The one that they don't have is pay-per-use laundry. So that's another way to easily put in a couple of washing machine. Like there's no laundry on site as far as I remember.
There is.
Oh, okay.
But what's crazy is the owner's not charging for it.
Okay.
So it's actual standalone building, we'll call it.
It's not coin operated.
It's not coin operated.
So right there, easy.
Just burning money.
Yeah, you got to put the coins on it, otherwise people will abuse it.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a crazy price gouge, but to just cover the cost in a little bit right there.
What are people charging for coin used laundry these days?
2-ish, 2 to 3.
I see. Yeah,
$3 to run a load.
$1.50 to $3, depending on the size of the machine.
I feel like $1.50 doesn't even cover the electricity that it uses. If it's the dryer, definitely.
I've seen those like further away from the GTA. It'll be like $1.50 for the wash, but then the dry is more expensive. Kind of, and
makes sense.
Yeah.
They're just cash money on it. So I've mixed use in Kawartha Lakes. And we have Kawartha Lakes Public Library is our tenant, which is pretty cool. And then we have a public access laundromat there. And the amount of cash this thing kicks off is crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was great. When we bought it, it was saying the underwriting, the owners were saying it was about $500-600 a month. We took over. We bring our own property managers out there, and all of a sudden it's like $1,800 to $2,000. Or like somebody was stealing from the former owners.
Just reporting it for 4 years that it's only that
That's
much.
literally what they were
It's
doing.
a known cash business, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a known cash business.
It's like not that
car
we're
washes.
running it that well, guys. We didn't do anything, and all of a sudden we're 1,800, 2,000. It's like
Huge
remarkable.
boost in efficiencies. But how do you trust people with businesses like that it's not going to get pocketed? That is the tricky thing. If you're not the guy collecting it, you almost got to expect that there's going to be some.
Yeah, I feel like
you got to build in.
today's day and age, there has to be some sort of technology that will go on the washer. Not I've just making this up,
number
but
of
that goes on
times
it, like how many
they
times
do.
it's been
Yeah.
used to track, a rough
Or at very
amount of
least,
numbers.
you tell the guy collecting the coins that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a thing that tells me how much should be there. How much did you get? Yeah, that's what it said.
We're in the process actually of putting a card system on it because they're being used so much.
Card system?
That it ends up being that it's a lot for our property managers. Because what happens is they start jamming like fills with coins and then they can't use it.
Can't put anymore. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
So we're actually switching over, but the
That's a
problem is
great
we've got a
problem to
lot
have.
of really good tenants and some of them are older, so there's a bit of resistance. So we're trying to manage it right without just making them. But in any event, you go to the card system and it sort of solves all of these problems.
Yeah, because I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen them with just like a tap, like not even a reloadable card, because that's where my head first went. But it's like a tap system where you use your any debit, any credit card, just pays.
Yeah.
But the only thing with that, of course, is your transaction fees. But that's probably less than potential skimming.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just nice to have cash though.
That's a good surprise for us. Yeah.
Keeps you busy on days to roll up your coins.
Yeah. That's true. Okay, so this deal looks like, to me, the play is you get it, you can now have a cash flowing asset and you plan your next step. So whether that's adding in the shipping containers or whatever that zoning will allow, or, getting your site plan done up for an expansion, going through the development process to do another building. We have enough acreage to do another building.
Yeah, there's a possibility of another 16 units.
16 more.
Yeah.
And is that like based on a concept that was done up?
Yes.
Okay.
And conversations with the city and
And would that be sort of as of right within the existing zoning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really just a matter of going through their site plan hoops and doing an archaeological study.
I don't even
or
think
whatever.
it needs a site plan approval. I think it might be.
No?
I
That'd be
don't know,
amazing.
I might be off on
Yeah,
that.
I think I saw that it's you don't need to go through that. Like you wouldn't have to wait till the end. You can just kind of start going as soon as you take over.
Yeah, no permits though. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, like you look at it, this is how we're doing our best deals. Is that structure? Let's make sense of it as it is right now, and then you start peppering on these other things. So the certainty is there. It's just going to take you.
Well, I love the idea that you can work on development, and for people who've never done development before, it kind of works well if you have something that pays for its own development. Like it's already making cash, so you can use the cash it generates to pay for the plans, to pay for the next step of soft costs, and then it's way more palatable, way less stressful, way less of a gamble.
For sure.
Yeah. So, side note, we did our efficiency episode the other day, and we had somebody comment that they wanted us to talk about heat pumps. I don't know if now's the time to do it, but the angle there with heat pumps and how that that could be a profit potential. I think it's mostly just in that scenario, it's mostly just by taking it from your pay for say heat and putting it on the tenant. Was that a fair assessment?
That if you're going to go through efficiency with CMHC, that's obviously helpful.
Yeah.
And if you have a better system, you're usually going to get more
better
rent,
tenants.
right? You get better tenants, you get better rent, right?
Yeah.
So,
but can you just go into say a building like this, if you were paying, these are all towns, they're probably all separate, but say it was 20 units that were all centrally heated by a boiler. And now you're wanting to turn that boiler off and put heat pumps in everyone's apartment. What's that process going to be like? Dealing with the tenant saying, hey, surprise, you got a heat pump and you don't have heat anymore.
Well, there's the sort of the tenant board, and then there's the reality.
Is what you can work out.
And again, all things are, this has been my theory from the beginning. If you go in guns blazing, dictating, it never works, right? You're people dealing with people. So you go in, you have the conversation, talk about what you're going to do, some of the upgrades, how to make it work, and people love it, right? It's heating, cooling. There's a lot of these systems. You're not going to have to jam up your AC unit in the window. There's nice things you can do with some of this stuff, and they're pretty keen on it. And again, if you're kind of having, not to be too philosophical, but if you're having that humanity approach to it, if somebody can't afford it, it's going to be an issue anyway. So probably we don't want to force them into something. But most people are pretty keen on, hey, it's not that much of a expense upgrade and I'm going to get a lot for it. You're usually not getting a lot of resistance.
Yeah, especially if they don't have like central AC in their unit. Now they're getting a nice heat pump that's going to probably do a better job than the window mounted unit they had.
So you can, like, you are absolutely allowed to go around and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. It's optional. You don't have to do it, Andrew.
Yeah.
But if you do, it's $50 more a month, right? And this is what we're going to do. A lot of people will take it.
Yeah, but in that case, you're going to charge them and they're going to pay their own utilities.
Or
and
if they just pay their own, however you do it, right? Like,
there's
no, I like the idea
angles.
of charging them too.
Well, we just saw that on the 21 unit in Hamilton that we're listing. It's like a lot of those new tenants are having $40 for parking plus $60 as a general chargeback, and because they're not metered, right? And everyone's like, sure, okay, as long as it's upfront.
Yeah, they understand, right?
Nah, it's just if you don't ask, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
So, carrot or the stick, you go in with a carrot and have those conversations, you're going to get a lot further.
So, but in that scenario, I only really benefit as a landlord, say if it is 20 units, is if I can shut off the entire boiler, which I pretty much need every tenant to agree.
That's one, but then you're going to get, I mean, if you're displacing tenant, you're going to get better tenants on new rents that are coming in, right?
Yeah.
Better quality, and then potentially CMHC.
Yeah, the efficiency with MLI or that's part of the point system, right? You can't get all the way there, but you can get like
you get a lot with
you can get 50
points.
50
points, and you can get a lot of that. So the 50 points, not to go in the weeds, is from 40% energy upgrade in your building, and a vast majority of that often comes from the heat pumps. It's not all, but that's a big hurdle.
So an idea of the numbers and how that would work on that, like what do you think average you're going to pay for heat pump installs? Like $4,000 a unit?
4 to 5, yeah.
So say you could do it for 4 times 20 units. We're looking at $80,000 you're going to spend.
Right.
What are you saving? Like what's the payback on that? Is that going to save a building owner $10,000 a year?
Well, it's sort of like, are we sort of in this model pushing all of the electricity back to the tenants and they're going to run it themselves off the boiler system?
Yeah, well, so basically turn off the boiler system and now they all pay. And now all these tenants that pay their own electricity are now.
You're going to make that money back pretty quick.
You think so?
I do, yeah.
So a gas boiler that heats 20 units is going to spend what, like $20,000 in a year, you think?
Probably, yeah.
So it pays back 4 years.
Again, with like all these caveats, this is an older building, right? Like it's not, but yeah.
No, I just want to get a high level of the numbers because someone asked and I thought it was worth a discussion.
That's a great question.
Yeah. So then that's 20, if it is $20,000 a year, that's a quarter of the cost of the investment. So then you'd be looking at a 4-year payback.
Because we'll see, like if you just take buildings that are metered for hydro, right? And you just look at that, you'll see, before you even get too deep in the numbers, I'm sure you see it, a drastic reduction on utilities because everything's metered back to the tenants. It makes a huge difference on buildings. Their value, how much you can get, it just makes the building better. And it's substantial.
Yeah, I think investors want the certainty, right? They'd much rather just see that the tenants are paying for it. So yes, it does increase the value in that sense because a buyer's going to value that building higher.
We did the one of our other ones, like our other hot seat with this exact model, like how do you add efficiencies to it? And that's often one as people don't look at is like, how do we make this a more efficient building so there's less utilities to be paid?
The issue that I will see coming up is when the HVAC that's being replaced is relatively new already because you're replacing based on the efficiency of the equipment itself. So if the equipment is less than 10 years old, it's probably relatively high efficient to begin with.
So you're not going to
get that. So you want to make sure that you're not just coming in and, heat pump means that I'm saving 50% of my utilities if you already have brand new stuff. But if you're stuck with super old baseboards or a really old boiler system, it's almost a no-brainer. But if you have even like remotely new or like a on-demand boiler system like that versus the radiant heat to heat pumps, like the gap to that is much less. So it's just like making sure you're actually doing the test of like, well, what are my utilities? If you're not spending $20,000 on utilities, you're not going to save $20,000.
And they have energy efficiency reports, right? The CMHC needs them, but we're not the ones kind of going in and being do all these things. You get the report and it'll say, hey, if you do this, it'll reduce energy. And it's like, here's the yin and the yang. You go get a building that's old and needs a lot of work, and you go, wow, the energy upgrades make a massive difference. Then you go to put in heat pumps, and then your contractor says, look, the panels need upgrading.
Yeah,
right? You're going to pull a bunch of electricity. So it's all like everything's an interconnected system, and that's why you have to have the right people to come out and kind of give you that
assess the situation.
100%. And it's it's not the realtors that do that; it's us who will connect you with the people who do that.
Yeah, you probably have a pretty good eye for it too.
We've done enough of them, and you start seeing patterns, and you can give some guidance.
I've always been a nerd for that stuff, so I'll just
because it matters.
Get in there. Like, all right, let's look at
next episode. You're going to be going. Let's look at the efficiency reports.
Yeah,
they're fun to read. Like it's crazy to you start looking at like. You go through and see these old windows, and you're just like, man, they're just losing. They're just so inefficient, just pumping out energy.
Yeah, I used to look at old windows and go, so burr, this is cold. And now it's money
Yeah,
money
you
gone,
just see
money
dollar
gone,
signs
burning money.
going out.
Yeah. Try it with propane heat, man.
Oh,
we have that at our house, and good lord, the winter can get expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's good. And for anyone who has other questions, other topics you want us to discuss, just drop it in the comments. I occasionally check them. I'm getting better at that. But we'll definitely look, especially now that we see like people are asking for stuff. So let us know what you want to know about, and we'll discuss it on the show.
That's a great question.
Yeah,
appreciate
great
it.
question.
All right. So quick reminder that we're going to be coming up with we're going to have a couple of courses that are going to be for REI Hot Seat insiders. So be an insider. You can join through the link in the show notes or under the YouTube video if you're watching there. And show us some love if you made it this far. Leave us that comment. Help engage in the channel. We just recently found out we have a couple of videos that did really, really well.
Proud of that.
I was surprised. Wasn't paying attention to the number of views, but we appreciate it and we appreciate the support. So thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
We'll see everybody again next week.